So hey, here's a great topic that's speaking strictly from my own experience and what I feel works. I'm turning 51 in the middle of May. I've been a raw foodist for 30 years next year. Um, and so this is not about why to be vegan. This is about, or this is not about why to be vegan or why to be a raw vegan. This is about how to be a raw vegan successfully in the long term. And I say this with having had a few failures, essentially starting out with the Sproutarian sort of ideals of Hippocrates, of survival in the 21st century, sort of fruitarian. My basic protocol in most of the first 15 years of my life was roughly, and this is working a very hard job as a surveyor, 20 to 30 bananas for lunch, and then a big huge sprout-based salad for dinner with, and I've always been into herbs and herb teas to a lesser, greater degree. During my first 15 years though was the beginning of this low-fat, no-fat craze though, and so I definitely took that on. It was hugely in the public consciousness, and I can't stand behind that. That was a major problem, and I would look a lot younger, and among other things. So the number one a constituent of being vegan is the spiritual aspect. I think a lot of people have a mistaken thinking that becoming vegan and you become spiritual. I think you become more spiritual. I kind of think you need to already head in that direction. But cultivating a spiritual life, that's at the top of the list there, because it's just being able to meditate, being able to do all these sort of new agey things, which I'm totally into lately, to bring in the prana and all that kind of stuff, and to keep yourself focused and to not channel all that vitality and energy in a wrong direction. I think that is typically where this kind of anger that a lot of vegans wind up getting. I think that's my personal opinion. I think that's where the problem comes from, is not actually being centered on a spiritual level, being able to quiet your mind, being aware of your body, being aware of energy work, being able to sort of feel the energy centers in your body, the 7 chakras, or the 6 chakras that are inside your body, with the 7th one being on the top of your head. So I'm not going to carry on about that too much. The number 2 is Sproutarian, and that's a real heavy one, because nobody in this new movement is using sprouts. Maybe here and there, but it's really not something that anybody from this new school is using. Apparently they're mostly buying the produce, and the whole original old school sprout or old school raw movement, and I mean survival in the 21st century, Hippocrates Health Institute, a lot of the stuff that Gabriel Cousens is doing is really based all around sprouts. It's cheaper, and there's a lot of life force there, and it is my second and third solution here are about live food. This one, sprouts, and the next one is going to be about fermented foods. But before I leave sprouts, okay, so here's your basic concepts with sprouting, of why it's so amazing and miraculous. It hasn't been studied at all, really, to just by small parties, and there's no... Dr. Mercola is really getting on board with this. But here's the basic thing. You have a sunflower seed, you just put water and minerals to it, and geez, it can even be mineral deficient, and a giant sunflower grows out of it. A pine seed, a giant pine tree grows out of it. These things are full of growth factors, full of growth factors. This is the magic food of what people look for in deer antler and all of this kind of stuff. So, growth factor, growth factor, growth factor, and it's a very magical presence is in that when that seed first emerges out of that seed in the first, whatever. Now, the grassy sprouts, people do all right with, generally always. Some of the bean sprouts, which are a big staple in my diet, some people have a hard time digesting this stuff, and there's techniques which I'll get into with working on your digestion, and a lot of people have a hard time with digestion because they're so fucked up. And so don't go blaming the raw food just because you fucked up or your parents fucked up or whatever. That can all be fixed. So the second one is fermented food. And this occurs on all levels, from the drinks that you can make that are cheap, Rejuvelac, coconut kefir, sort of fermented cabbage water, the fermented veg, fermented cultured whatever, seed and nut cheeses. List goes on. I'm going to have more videos about this. In fact, one of the ones soon coming out, I have a bunch of recipes in the queue, is about a sort of spicy chili that I did that's all completely fermented or cultured, whatever you want to call it. The fourth thing is fats. I personally, from what I've been through with my own life, and again, this blog is not really so much quoting science or anything else like that. It's just a lot of people that discount the whole raw vegan or the whole vegan ideal of saying, oh, there's no evidence of it in history. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. So here's the deal on this. I've heard Daniel Vitalis, I've heard the Weston A. Price people talk about this, that there's no evidence of vegan cultures or plant-based cultures. And you simply got to think about the fact that a plant-based culture would not leave much in the way of archaeological evidence, because it would all disappear. And that's the whole point, really, of being vegan in the first place, is that it's low impact. So that being said, we don't know if there was plant-based cultures because there wouldn't be evidence of them. The second thing is there has been plant-based cultures in the form of like Buddhist monasteries, like the Shaolin monks, for example. Right here is a great link to training of the Shaolin monks. Anyways, the point of saying this is the fats. And what I have to say about this is just that in my early days of being a raw vegan, this whole like low to no fat like sort of bullshit existed, and this is true for cooked fats and all these shit fats and everything. But don't think fat is fat, because the kind of crap fat that they serve up in the sort of standard Western diet and all that stuff, that is shit. That's complete crap. But there is a whole new thinking. Again, I got a lot of this out of my own experiences first, because I got into using coconuts in my late 30s, early 40s, a lot in my early 40s, and there was a big increase. And what goes wrong? There's a great video right here. Hopefully I can link to it. It's Gabriel Cousin's talking about fats, and your brain chemistry starts going weird. Your hormones and your endocrine stuff starts going weird. You just start going kind of like just crazy. Suicides are increased with shortage of omega-3s. And what are those? Your omega-3 sources are coconut oil. The ultimate great one, if you can find it, is the weed purslane, hemp seeds, chia seeds, great specific supplements like Budo 369. This whole thinking that a lot of these people like John Kohler are putting out, and this guy Federico Patinaccio or whatever the fuck his name is, the guy's a complete moron, saying that oils are bad. There is a great potential that oils are bad, in the sense that they could be rancid, but just sort of lassoing all this stuff into one category is really retarded. It's the same kind of retarded as thinking that everything is down to just protein, fat, and carbohydrates. All of those categories break up intensely into lots of little subdivisions. So, you know, as you get older, and this definitely will not show up when you're in your late 30s yet, but as you get into your mid 40s, not having the fats, it kind of fucks up your brain, and you kind of start going batshit crazy and getting too emotional, and not being able to connect your thoughts. So in no way, you know, I'm in the upper area. I say a lot of fat. I don't go with the high carb, high sugar, high fruit. I just don't see the point in that. The next thing is minerals. Definitely need mineral supplementation, or going to things that are mineral rich, which are seaweed and various kinds of salt. That's the other thing. I'm not this on salt. My personal opinion is use salt, and use a very amount of kinds of salt, from Himalayan to Celtic to whatever exotic salts you can get your hands on, and I do advise you to look out for where they're coming from or whatever. People in this whole anti-supplement movement, there's an element of truth to it, and there's an element of just where you're out of your fucking mind. And when it comes to mineral supplementation, you cannot go wrong. That is well worth putting your money into. That is after water. That is a major constituent that the body needs. It increases conductivity in every type of communication the body does, and you are just complete Looney Tunes if you have shit to say about people that supplement with minerals. It's one thing if you can't afford it. As I say, go to the seaweeds, go to whatever. This planet, all kinds of farming are extremely mineral deficient. You're Looney Tunes if you have anything else to say about that. Chlorophyll, juicing, chlorophyll-rich food, you know, juicing is great. There is some issues with juicing. Again, another thing that the whole 80-10-10 crowd is sort of against is this idea of removing the whole food constituent. And I can see there's a value to that, but this is along the same lines of supplements, of this idea of extraction, of where with juicing or with extracting, and I'll stick with juicing, but supplements comes under this heading too, of where you're getting a lot of something because you just need it. And the thing, the 80-10-10 thinking, or the fruitarian thinking, is kind of a Garden of Eden diet. And we do not live the Garden of Eden. We live on a very, very toxic planet. And juices in their concentrated form, and I'm talking about like, just basic stuff like kale and celery and cilantro. Cilantro is a really good one. You know, and then wheatgrass and just all your cereal grasses juiced are extremely powerful. I seem to always forget. I kind of go on and off phases. It's really hard for me to grow wheatgrass. I don't like to buy it because it's about $13 a tray at my health food store, so I always grow it. I always seem to think like I just yesterday had this crazy, like, taking too much wheatgrass, which induced all these detox reactions of me, like where I had to lay down in the middle of the day. The awesome part of it was it because I have gone down this spiritual path, is it really triggered some very spiritual visions, which I posted on Facebook, saying that my my trip, so to speak, was like almost like psychotropic, but there was no psychedelics or drugs involved with it. The visions when I was laying on my bed, when I closed my eyes, of just having this overload from too much wheatgrass, yeah, were like Samuel Taylor Coleridge's visions when he wrote the poem Kubla Khan. I do urge you all to sort of follow me on Facebook. There's links in the drop down. I'm always posting little bits and scraps here. Sometimes I'm got so much going it's really hard for me to post. You know, I forgot which number I'm on in my list. Another important thing is superfoods. I don't think that you need to go over the top like David Wolf suggests, or like any of those like sort of people who've got lots of shit to sell. But I think it's a good idea to like try different stuff and sort of rotate them. I always have some kind of green powder around, you know, basic chlorella, basic spirulina. You know, whenever I have an extra $60 or $70 floating around, I get Vita Mineral Green from Health Force Nutritionals. I think it's good to have some, you know, some maca around every night. Not like a big supply of it, but just some of this stuff. And you don't need to be superfood based, but I just think it's good to have that stuff around. You know, the other thing is activity. And I mean everything from spiritual activity to actually athletic type activity. You may be mistaken in hearing me say that like I have had a very active life, but in no way am I saying that we shouldn't be active. I just have a problem with the idea of health, or the measure of good health, being based on sports performance. I'm just active, you know, and I actually need to get more active because I actually really enjoy having a good tight body. And I did have to slow down because I injured a ligament last year kayaking, so I really didn't like the having to sort of slow down for the winter. But I'm kind of coming back on, and you know, that's it really. So I'll try to have little talks about each one of these little aspects that I mentioned in here. I want to tell you to support me by supporting my music. I really don't try to make any money off of this. I'm pretty unique. I don't focus on health. I focus on the three things that mean the most to me, and that's the music, the health food lifestyle, and the magic of spirituality and of connecting into the great beyond. Anyways, this is Keith, Live Rockstar, saying have a good day and become vegan. It is possible, and just tune into your own uniqueness. It's good to listen to some people, but I don't think that anybody has the one sort of template, because we're all unique, and that's for sure.